Yes, we can get rolling. Good evening. Welcome to the Village of Cottage Grove Parks, Recreation, Forestry Committee meeting. It is Thursday, May 28th, 2026, and it is 5:01 p.m., so I'll call the meeting to order. We do have a quorum. This is a hybrid meeting, so we have a couple members in the room and a couple online. The link is at the top of the agenda for the Zoom. We'll move then to Item 3, public appearances, public's opportunity to speak about any subject that is not a specific agenda item. I'm not sure, Marissa, you had submitted a wish to speak. It's on a specific agenda item, but I'm not sure what your time, if you wanted to talk now or wait until we get to that.
Second, but first one should be short.
Okay, thanks. Is there anyone else on Zoom that wishes to speak during public comment period? All right, seeing none, then we'll move to item 4, discuss and consider the minutes of the Parks, Recreation, Forestry Committee meeting on April 23rd, 2026. Any edits, comments, or consideration of the minutes?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes as presented.
I have a
Second.
Motion and second to approve the minutes. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstained? Motion carries. Then we'll move to item 5, discuss and consider a Gaga pit as an Eagle Scout project at Fireman's Park. Had a brief description. If you want to come on up. Thanks for being here tonight. You got the microphone. I'll turn it over.
Thank you. So basically, I want to do an Eagle project.
Riley, why don't you tell them who you are?
Oh, my name is Riley Gilbertson. I live here in town, and I'm trying to do my Eagle Scout project. And for that, I need to partner with a organization that is not the BSA organization. So basically, a Gaga ball pit is going to consist of either a wooden or a hard plastic composite frame. I want to do a wood frame, and it's usually in by 20 feet by 20 feet in an octagonal shape. And it's a Gaga ball is like a sport you play. Kind of like you have everyone gets in the pit, there's a ball on the ground, you're just trying to hit it into each other's legs to get each other out. That's pretty much the main premise of the game. It's just something to do for fun. But overall, this project will probably take 5 or 6 hours to build total and cost around $500 to $600. That which I'm gonna self-fund. I do not need funding from you guys.
Riley, can you get a little closer to the mic, please? They can't hear you online.
I don't need funding from you guys for this project. It'll be $500 to $600, and I'm gonna self-fund it. I would like to know what you guys need to know.
Thanks, Riley. Which, what you're proposing at Fireman's Park?
Fireman's Park, yeah, sorry.
Is there a certain, like near the shelter area?
I went there and looked the other day. I was thinking like 50 feet past the trees on the right side of the building. Looked pretty flat, which is typically what you want for a Gaga ball pit. You want a flat area to build it in.
My niece, I'm sure she's 12. She loves Gaga ball, so I'm sure she will be excited to play. Other questions from?
Yeah, I mean, I'm all for it. I am an Eagle Scout myself, and I love these parks projects with Eagle Scouts and whatnot, but that is some prime real estate over there, being the Fireman's Festival and baseball and all of our parking and overflow parking and whatnot. I guess it'd be nice to have a map with the location on it. I think Sean might be pulling one up.
Yep. As you can see, I shared my screen. The location that we're talking about, I would like it to be between the shelter and the trees, so kind of in this area right here, if you can see my cursor. So it's a little bit closer to the shelter. It'll also give us a better opportunity to make this accessible with a pathway or whatever, instead of extending way out into that open green space, which I think that's what you're more concerned with. So Riley, if you're okay with that, I mean,
That would work for me.
that's the location I was thinking.
Yeah, I mean, tuck it up as close to the shelter as possible.
Yep.
Pretty sure there's enough space somewhere up here.
Yeah.
Near between this tree and there. I know it was a little tighter over there.
The other option too, if that doesn't work out, is we could put it on the other side of the shelter, more near the playground and the volleyball court as well. if that didn't work out. Yep.
Yeah, if we did that, probably somewhere over
Right on the
here.
side. Then all the placements on one side. I'm just not trying to be a stickler or anything, but that's gonna be all full of carnival rides. We'll probably see in the next 2 weeks, and then that is our overflow parking for large events over in that area, so.
Yeah.
But we like
I kind
it.
of forgot about that.
Oh, it's okay.
My bad.
It's our opportunity to inform you and work with you and get this all done, so, thank you.
What's your time frame looking like? I'm sure you have a time you have to complete.
First thing, I need to get approval from you guys as the project beneficiary. Then it'll probably be another month or so before I can get approval, a minimum from the various levels of Boy Scout Council. I need to have approved this project. And then after that, I'm hoping to be able to build this sometime either midsummer or late summer. As late as maybe September at the latest before the ground gets hard, because otherwise I can't properly slightly dig this into the ground to make it high windproof.
Yeah, I'll make a motion to approve with direction from Sean as far as location goes.
Second.
And we have a motion and a second. Any further comments? I did have one. I think that this is a great project. It'll be a really nice addition. And I thank you for choosing this for your project. So I really appreciate that. I think a lot of youth will enjoy this very much. Other comments on this item? All right, hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstained? Motion carries. Great. Thanks so
All right,
much, Riley.
thank you.
Sean will be in touch with you and get things rolling.
Yeah, we'll reach out. Riley, we'll connect next week, and I'll get those signatures for you. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, we'll keep moving then. Item 6, the Lindstrom property presentation. If it's all right, we could have the presentation, just an overall concept first, and then we can go to you, Marissa, and then we can have discussion among committee. Okay, great. So I believe we have, do we have Steve online?
Yep, Steve is here.
So I can turn it over to you for your concept, start things off. I'm not sure if you're, oh, I think I can see, you're still muted. If you're, I think once he unmutes, then he'll
Yeah, when
show
he
up.
talks.
I don't think so. There, all right, I saw the microphone go. We still can't hear you, but I see that it's no longer muted.
Can you guys hear me?
Is it our,
As far as,
yeah, I was
I
just
hear
thinking,
Josh.
is it our sound? But I can hear Josh talking.
yeah, I was just checking because I couldn't hear any of you guys before.
We had trouble with Riley talking on the microphone.
Yeah, I still can't, and Josh, you can't hear him through Zoom?
No, nope, I
Okay.
can't hear Steve right now. I can hear you guys fine.
Log out and log back in.
No,
Oh,
now we
wait,
can hear
now we
you.
can hear you. I heard.
That's me. That's Blake.
Oh,
Oh,
Blake.
psych.
Let's try this one.
there
There
we
we go.
go. Yep.
All right, I have 6 different speakers to choose from, so my bad. Sean, I'm sorry that I've not been to this committee before. So I did send some materials to Sean, but I think we're here really to talk kind of globally about the park within Lindstrom Acres, which we're actually going to name Juniper Fields, by the way. So, the name's bounced around a little bit.
That's the name of the development you're, yep,
Yeah.
great, Juniper Fields.
Yeah, so, so this was kind of meant mostly for context and some some space planning and to talk about a couple things that we're looking for. We're looking for a little help and some direction on where things go with some of these park dealings. A lot of this is going to come up in a development agreement, so this will help kind of track the basis for these conversations. Um, I guess item number one is I think I think this park is one of the great things about this neighborhood. It's a pretty large park at 14 acres, and I'm guessing that there's a process of public input, and there's a lot that goes into programming something like this. Um, and so I'm just sort of thinking about the timing of this park, and I guess our proposal would be that we would like to get out here and start grading in this development sometime here in the next 3 or 4 months. And I'm not sure that we're going to know before we set grades and start doing any kind of construction work in here. I think it's going to be pretty important to know the uses. I know that, flat is going to be the preference, but there's going to be possibly roads. There might be some stormwater management. I mean, we don't really know what this park is going to hold yet. So my my thoughts on this is how we phase this development right now are maybe just stay away from this section in the first phase. Take the first section up to the north where we originally planned to do so, because I don't think we're going to be ready to go with park plans in time to really do the grading right. I mean, ideally we want to grade this thing once, not twice. So I mean, for the engineers in the room, I mean, is anybody thinking that that's a bad idea? Because I'm open to suggestions here.
Steve, just looking at the site right now and knowing that those are like 1 foot contours, those the black lines on there, right? I mean, you're 20 to 25 feet from, the site kind of falls, the green site there kind of falls north to south mostly, or kind of a little bit to the southeast, right? But I mean, you're 20 to maybe a 25 from the far limits to the far limits of that grading. So, I mean, you have quite a bit of different grade here. Are you thinking that this is going to somewhat be terraced then, where the north half is going to be one elevation, the south half is going to be different, and how this is going to be used, or?
Exactly the kind of thing that's really currently unknown. And until we know how they program the park, I just don't think it's that easy to just go ahead and kind of do grading without knowing what's going in the park and having some idea about that. So it feels premature to come grade out around this park right now in the next 3 months with those questions unanswered. Which is why I'm proposing that we redirect the first phase and go back up to the north where we were going to in the first place. Because there is some topo here from north to south. And so, and that all needs to be factored into what people want for recreation out there.
This is Blake. I've got a couple questions and comments here. So in the prior version I saw of this, there was not a road through this space. I guess that's the first issue I think we need to address because that gives me very much concern.
Yeah, I want to be super clear here. That's the second part of this conversation, Blake. Really, my first conversation here is about phasing and about taking our time to make sure that we design this park however we want to. But this is also another demonstration of if we do end up putting a road through here, which we should have a conversation about, that's not known right now, and that's going to affect grading as much as anything. So
I think it really is going to drive how the park functions. I mean,
agreed.
good design would not have a major thoroughfare through a park, and I'm afraid that that is going to be a primary feeder to the rest of this neighborhood, the way it's laid out. Um, my other thought, put the road aside for a second. The available street frontage for the allocated green space is quite minimal, which gives me another bit of concern. Usually we would want a much higher percentage of street frontage on an active programmed space if that is what this park wants to be. Um, my suspicion and experience has shown me that neighbors do not want active rec in their backyard like this is laid out. So, one thought might be to take the 3 lots that you have in the northwest corner by that outlot remove those to gain some additional street frontage. So basically from your outlaw, which I think is your clubhouse, is that right?
Yeah, correct.
So maybe from the clubhouse south and to where you have those other lots south of the intersection, that could be street frontage and that might serve as parking for the open space. Just as a suggestion. I know you don't
Yeah.
want to lose lots, but I'm fearful that there's not enough street frontage.
Yeah,
I was
I'll
pretty
throw a
clear
couple
from
2
the-
cents in here too. Just looking at what's drawn there, it looks like I got a baseball field and 2 soccer fields. And if we have activities going one night with all that, we're gonna need 20 to 30 parking stalls. And I don't think that the neighborhood wants people parking on the street in front of their houses for everything either. So if you do remove those 3, making up like a small parking lot or something like that would be pretty smart.
Right. Yep, exactly.
So I don't want this meeting to get hijacked with, these are very important conversations that we can have about how we program this park, and we do have to have. My first question involved the phasing of this, because we wanted to be able to do this park with the first phase of this development. And what I'm saying was, with the number of questions out there as far as how this park's gonna be programmed, I don't think we're gonna be able to do that. It's gonna take at least 6 months to know what you guys want in this park in the first place, which means we have to set grades once we know how we're programming this. There is some topo here. So what I'm saying is not question number one, but this committee, but Josh Straka, that's why I'm looking at you. I'm saying issue number one, we do not really have time to get this thing programmed and know what we're doing with the grading. And I think we're gonna have to change the phasing out here to go back up to the north so that we can get this park plan, master plan put together.
We haven't really talked about a planning timeline, but I mean, Blake, I mean, as far as like a high level, master plan. I mean, we're not talking like months and months. It kind of depends on the committee here, I suppose, and how fast you put something through. I'm not saying yes or no, Steve. I'm saying maybe, if you really want to move dirt in 3 to 4 months, you could have some general understanding of how you might want to use this space.
Yeah, Josh.
And whether they're gonna allow a road through, which I agree with Blake, and whether they're gonna want more parking, which is probably gonna be wanted. I mean, there's gonna be some pretty, Blake, you're pointing out pretty obvious things that I think this committee and probably others are gonna want.
And kind of on that line, we do have a member of the public that submitted comments for this agenda item to talk about what they want. And I just want to make sure that we get to her before she has to leave for another commitment. So I'm going to ask Marissa if she wouldn't mind. It pertains to kind of what community members may want to see in the park. So if we could just pause for that. Marissa, I'll turn it over to you. Thanks.
Hi, Marissa Anders, 312 Fox Circle. As president of Monona Grove FC, I want to express our support for planning at, I guess, Juniper Fields now, to include additional grass fields that can support soccer and other youth sports. Over the last 3.5 years, MGFC has grown significantly, and we expect that momentum to continue. While that growth is exciting, we are quickly running out of field space, especially for practices. Additional multipurpose grass fields would help us avoid holding practices on game fields and provide more flexibility for scheduling and field maintenance. This is bigger than just soccer. We fully support multipurpose fields that can benefit a variety of youth sports and create more recreational opportunities for families in the community. Investments like this help support growing youth programs and keep kids active and engaged close to home. We appreciate the continued focus on youth recreation and would be happy to be a part of future conversations as planning moves forward. Thank you.
Thanks, Marissa. So that would kind of bring us then to what the timeline would look like if there are groups such as Monona FC would want to participate in a master planning of the park. Committee would work with Blake and Josh. I mean, what kind of timeline? If we're planning field space, similar to what's perhaps laid out there, what kind of timeline would you think about that?
So I think that to get through some stakeholder input, develop a high-level concept plan, to do it right and come back to the committee for feedback, you are probably at 3 months, at a minimum. But I think that engaging in that exercise immediately before rooftops are built is critical, because once you have people in these neighborhoods, you're going to see resistance to any sort of active rec like you've got laid out here. So I think the plan has to happen before people start buying lots.
Agreed. Yeah, in fact, that's one of my asks in the DA is that we do have at least the plan cemented by December 31st, which is about the time I expect to be on market.
Yeah,
Steve,
I
you're
guess I
thinking
would.
when, oh, sorry, Mike.
Sorry, Josh, go ahead.
No, I was just, when you mentioned, Steve, just phasing wise, you'd go back to the north, which is kind of off the screen right now. Would you do a phase to the north and come back here and tackle this, or would you push the park off further down the road? I'm just curious on timing.
It breaks my heart to not do the park right away. I mean, for one thing, I can't do my own amenity, right?
Right. Yeah, the pool.
So
right?
it breaks my heart, but I'm just being practical here. It's a 3-month planning process, and we all know 3 turns into 4. And from there, we have to create drawings, and there's just a lot involved in this. And I think because of the topo, there's grading. So, I mean, I'm happy to, we're going to execute a DA. Like I want to dedicate the land right away. I'll even put that on the plat. So it's not about that. It's not about anything other than we can't rush this park planning process because I want to develop a subdivision. And we don't have to. I just go north to like I thought, and then we get the park figured out the right way.
So you're thinking then it would be phase 2, like the very next phase you'd move back down there?
Correct. I would flip phase 1 and phase 2.
So the phase 2 that has outlot 7, kind of in the most northern portion, then Molly Court and such, that would be then the new phase 1?
Yes, with some changes, because we did want to bring vehicular traffic down south right away. So I'm painting with a broad brush, and we will get detailed drawings to you. Phase 1 would move north, but it would get a little bit bigger because it would connect to, is it Meyer Road?
Yeah, you'd still connect to Meyer to the south to make sure you had that connection, right, Steve?
Yeah, right. Yeah, we committed to that. So it's not exactly trading 1 for 2. It's 1 and a little bit of, you get my point. It's not quite the same. But I don't see any way to know what we're doing on grading in time for us to start with the development.
So just Steve, if you move a phase 1, phase 2, like you're suggesting, what timing does that give us for the park as far as like, is phase 1 a year long? Is phase 1 a couple years? Like, what's your gut on that? Like, before you get over to this park side then?
My gut is it's a 30 house a year subdivision. So my gut is 12 months later, we're doing phase 2.
And you'll be over on this piece. Okay. Yeah.
We do our best to guess, but we try to do 1 year at a time.
Yeah.
Okay. So Josh, I think I've got you kind of, I don't mean to put words in your mouth, but you can see why I'm saying this, I think. Like, just the grading isn't as simple as one might think here.
No, I mean, the baseball field, from left field corner to right field corner on here is 15 feet of difference, right? So,
Right.
just the way it's laid out right now, right? And I guess some of it, Sean, is we can, he can best guess and do his mass grading for phase 1, but then you're coming back in and pushing ground around again, where if we kind of have a plan, Steve, as you're grading your subdivision, you can be setting the park up for a little bit better success at the same time, right?
Correct. It's 1/10 the cost. It's so much easier to do this all together. When I'm setting road elevations, I can gain or lose as much dirt as we want just with road elevations. And so the whole thing balances. It's a completely different thing when we're doing them together. So I do want to make clear too, I put the baseball fields and the soccer fields on there not to be presumptuous. It was really meant to give a sense of space. So like, don't be literal with that. I was just kind of trying to show about how this thing would look and what kind of space we were talking about. So
I appreciate that scale kind of.
I talked about phasing. I think we can put a pin in that. Is it reasonable for me to ask for a park plan, a master park plan by December 31st of 2026? Because I am worried about going to the market without that.
Sean, what are your
From my
thoughts?
perspective, I fully agree with you. It's a mistake to do that. By December 31st, I absolutely think we could have a solid plan with stakeholder input developed.
Okay, nothing magic about that date other than it was the end of the year. So if it moves a little bit one way or the other, no big deal.
Steve, I do have a question for you.
Yeah.
Early on, you mentioned stormwater management within the park.
Yeah.
So typically, we don't accept stormwater management as parkland. So my question, I guess, would be, are these ponds that are shown on the overall plat sized to account for impervious that would be in the park parcel? If
I don't
not, we should have them rerun that model.
I doubt that it is because I don't know how much impervious surface they assumed, but my assumption would be any kind of water cleaning or any kind of pre-screening that we need to do from any impervious surface you put down would be done in the park. Otherwise, I feel like that's probably a taking. So, let's talk about the next topic, and that is the road. So, and let's talk
I mean,
about.
Blake, circling back to the stormwater, what Blake, you're saying is you don't want stormwater management, you don't want that to eat up park space.
Correct.
So Blake's asking for that to be sized in your outlots, and those outlots will be dedicated back to the village, I'm assuming, right, Steve? So it'll all be village property, outlot and park at the end of the day.
Aren't you gonna need some kind of a place for the water to flow from impervious surface so that the solids settle out before they work their way into the ponds?
Depends on how your pond systems are set up. If they're
I mean, probably not. If you have infiltration in your ponds, they can be handled the same way, just like your individual lots don't have stormwater on them.
Okay. That feels like a taking to me. I mean, if it's related to the park and the impervious surfaces in the park, I would think that the parkland would have to accommodate that. So we can all look into that together later. So I also don't think it's a huge deal because there's not a whole lot of impervious surface. So let's put a pin in stormwater, and I'll talk to our engineer.
Right, yeah, I think your engineer may have made some assumptions, and maybe some of that is into account. Like you said, Steve, it's probably not a big ask, but it would take up a lot of space to do something separate. It's, regional, it's so much more efficient.
Right, and that's what we're accustomed to seeing. Usually, the engineers will make those oversized assumptions in the regional basins.
Okay.
Yeah, they may already have them accounted for, Steve.
Right.
So let's talk about frontage and the vehicular load through this. Blake, I'm hearing you that you would rather I remove those lots, right? That's quite frankly, that's $360,000 of lots right there, right? Like, so I'm not that into that. I think I've been pretty clear from the beginning on this project that I'm happy to work with you on land, but I'm not super excited about building a whole bunch of infrastructure. To me, I look at this street going through here. If it's a 40-foot wide road going through there, that's almost it's almost exactly 1 acre of land. I looked at your other parks. I looked at North Lawn. I looked at Community Park. Your parking lots are about the same percentage of the land as this road is. So it feels to me like a great way to pull the whole community into the park. It feels like a great way to provide parking that stretches out amongst all the uses. And I don't think we're taking up any more land than a normal parking lot does. So, I mean, for the sake of the residents, this park's not even going to be developed. Well, I'll be long gone. So this is not a self-serving statement when I say this, but I'm sure you've got people from the West clamoring for park space. In 10 years, you're going to have the people that are moving into my community clamoring for access to park space because it's pretty far away. So I don't know why we don't want to pull in people from both sides of the village of Cottage Grove in through this park, especially given that I'm going to lose the land for parking anyway. So why not just pull them through there and make it sort of more live like part of the community? I don't get the resistance to a road in there that serves both access and parking.
I guess I'd like to
You,
hear
by, well,
from
by
committee
doing this, we
members.
would be bisecting the park uses, and if we've got kids moving through the space and we've got neighborhood residents using that road as their access route home during peak park use hours, I'd see that as a potential conflict. So I, I was just surprised because it wasn't on the previous version that we had seen. Um, there may be ways to do it that is safe, but my first impression is I'm not in favor.
So I'd like to
Okay.
swing back to some of the committee members if they have thoughts on the road going through, if that's something that they'd like to see. or
Yeah,
not.
being on the fire department, I know that we have to have 2 points of egress to this park for emergency vehicles and whatnot. So I do see a good thing about having egress on both sides. I am a fan of parking lots. I find them safer than having roads and then having people park on the sides of the roads. It'd be too easy for a kid walking across the road to get hit. If we had a parking lot the size of the one at Community Park, it would be great. I do see a benefit to having 2 like soccer fields in there. I'm kind of questioning the need for the baseball because we do have those at North Lawn and we do have those at Fireman's Park and whatnot. It'd be nice to have a shelter. It'd be nice to have a playground, but definitely a parking lot in there.
Any
Yeah,
other-
great comments. And I will tell you, after some of this, the wheels were in motion on this, and then I kind of looked around Cottage Grove at the parks, and I did see you have a lot of baseball fields. I didn't, had I done that before I drew this up, I probably wouldn't have even put that on there. If the answer is to pull in and have one big parking lot, I get it. I just don't, I hope we're not doing it because we think we're gonna have less asphalt that way. We're not.
No, that's not at all the angle I was taking. It's more about user safety. And there may be ways to do it that instead of a through street like it's drawn, maybe there's a parking lot in the middle, and so it becomes very uncomfortable for motor vehicles to move through that space as their access route.
Yeah, that's a
I
good.
think there could be ways to design through it, but just something we should talk through.
Yeah, okay, great. I think I'm happy enough to file this under, if we could just keep an open mind to going through there. And maybe I think first things first is how are we gonna program this, right? And then depending on that, what makes sense, but that's enough for me as far as what we're actually gonna do, because I assume there's a whole process to that in the world of parks. As far as like just collecting information about what the community wants.
So I think, it seems like consensus is we need to plan out what we want here so we know how this flows. But we do have then the beginning of this neighborhood and this whole quadrant really lacks a community space. So, my biggest concern is how much longer this will be before this is available to, maybe it's done in phases, or, it's open green space first, or we have, the playground structure before we had, a restroom, shelter facility, depending on how we're able to budget different improvements in time. But, this area would be quite underserved by, a public park currently, and only getting further away from the one that we have that's closest. So I guess that's my biggest concern is, putting this off. I guess I would be interested in having a developer agreement, that it is phase 2 and that we'd be, right behind to get this going for this neighborhood. I think it's really important to have that community space to bring people together. So meet their neighbors and have that kind of non-structured time where people can meet their neighbors and become part of the community. So I think that's probably my biggest concern. Sean, it looks like you have a couple notes.
Yeah, just to start at the beginning, the reason, one, Steve is here to present, obviously, this idea. The other reason that this is on the agenda is I wanted to talk about the master plan part of things. And the goal for this committee this evening is to hopefully move forward with a master plan process. So we're going to start the master plan. And then we would get a quote from Strand to do that, and then we would proceed with the master plan of the park. Now, I don't know what we want in this park yet. The one thing that I do know is that we need green space. And whether that's, whether that includes a baseball diamond, I don't know, because we have to think a little bit about the sports complex that's coming in too. Is that going to serve some of our needs for baseball fields? We are at capacity with what we have right now. So, and even if we did include a baseball diamond, I hate fences, and a fence wrecks all of our open space. So that would likely be a temporary fence. So the overall goal here, and what I hear what Steve is saying. My overall goal was, I'm looking for something flat or flat-ish that we can develop, and that's a chunk of land. And yes, that's where the master plan comes into play. That we are gonna. This is what it's gonna look like when it's done, pretty much, and we just move forward with that. And that kind of serves as that. Then Steve can use that to sell it. And let's face it, it's gonna be. Unless something goofy changes, it's going to be probably 8 to 10 years before we can do anything in this park. Unless, again, and Steve and I talked about this before, unless he chooses to pay all of his park fees up front, and then we could possibly do something with that park sooner than later. So from my perspective, we just want a flat spot, and then we'll take it from there. Now, as flat as we can do, and whatever is, that's up to the engineers and Steve. But if if down the road we want to put a ski lift in there, then that's on us. We have to build that ski lift, and we have to put that in there. I'm just looking for a flat chunk of land that we can program, and whether that means slowly, and all we have there is a porta potty so that soccer can use those as practice spaces, whatever that is, until we can afford to build that park out with the master plan process in mind, as this is what it's ultimately going to look like. And I too am not in favor of a through street in the middle of the park. It just makes me a little bit uneasy with soccer balls flying, kids running into the street. I don't know. It just doesn't. And I wonder if we couldn't solve some of that with a bike path that comes through there that goes east to west, and that helps a little to get some access from the eastern side of the park. So that's kind of what I'm looking at right now. Is I really want the committee to ultimately say, let's move forward with the master plan process. We'll get a cost, and then we'll come back in June, and I'll seek your approval plus board approval to move forward with that process. And now, as Blake mentioned, we can get after it, and we can have this done, in relatively short time. It's going to be 3 months, I would say, at least, if we're going to include any resident input, which we really need to do. But we can get this going relatively quick. So I think that's all that I had.
I'm in full agreement with that. Do we need a motion?
We don't have a discussing. Yeah, online, I want to make sure I give you the opportunity, Penny and Amy, if you're still on.
I just am sitting here looking at it and thinking, having a parking lot in the middle, also having a bike path in there, the 2 soccer fields, the park, and in place of that baseball diamond, hear me out, a shelter with some picnic area and a full court basketball court, because there's only one in town.
Yeah, and all of those things would be decided during the master plan process. We can put whatever we want in there now, so.
So that process, we wouldn't have to wait for budget season, because we do have park development fund that we could forward the money from, and then, Cameron will figure out how that gets allocated later to make sure that as these park fees pay back, that it's kind of like, just fronting the money for the master plan.
And it's just like Sean says, we have to make this as flat as we can, because whether it's a parking lot, a soccer field, a baseball field, it all has to be flat.
Penny, yep.
I'm all for moving forward with master plan planning.
Thanks, Penny. Jay, do you have something you want to add?
I'm just going to be in agreement. The things that I had written down while Steve was talking was just, the flexibility of the space, I think, is really important. To get the community input through the master plan is the other part that's a really important. I agree with the road issue. That was the first thing when I saw it, it's like, yeah, no. So I'd prefer the parking lot concept that we've talked about a little bit here tonight. So that's important. And then, yeah, really just the community input, because I don't know what direction they would maybe want to go. And that's how pickleball got started, right? And we went nobody wanted to really think about that till we started talking about it. I was like, oh, really? And now I would submit that that's probably one of our most used resources in the parks. So might have some new ideas.
Yeah, agreed. So yeah, if that 3-month time frame, works, we can get the ball rolling. If Blake and Josh prepare something for us to consider at our next meeting, to send over then to the village board to get this master plan process started, and kind of talked about the road. We can always do bike path with emergency services type gate that can be opened with a key if emergency services needs to access from a different point. Steve, do you have lingering questions as you kind of continue to work through your plan from the feedback tonight?
No, I don't think so. This has been great, and I appreciate you moving forward on that plan.
John, you have another?
Yeah, I just have a question, Steve. So, and committee, really, I think we don't necessarily need a motion as long as I have direction from you guys. We can start the process, at least figuring out the cost and all that stuff. Steve, and Blake and Josh, does that 3-month or so seem right once we get going? I mean, what we're really looking at right now, time-wise, is really not being able to proceed until after the July 20th meeting. Because that's when the village board would have an opportunity to tell us whether we can use park development. So starting on, July 21st and then moving forward from there, does that get us to where we need to be by the end of the year? Blake and Josh, are you comfortable with that?
Yeah, I mean, I think that gives us a solid 4 months by the end of the year, and that's doable. I would make one friendly amendment to this proposal, though. I think that it's going to be really important to understand the grades. As Josh pointed out, we have a ton of relief across this site. And as you guys know, athletic fields are essentially flat. And so we're going to need to have an understanding of that. So I would suggest that in addition to doing the visioning and concept plan, that Josh looks at a conceptual mass grading effort so that we understand how this actually interfaces with the adjacent properties.
Yeah, I
That
think
might, Steve, be a little bit working with your engineer too, just to understand what can we do, where can we give and take a little bit, right?
Yeah, that sounds great. In fact, do you want to give me a call tomorrow morning? That was kind of on my radar too, is just maybe take a quick look at what's going on this site.
And
Are you around?
if I may,
One other quick question, because this is going to plan commission, right? Couple weeks here, and then village board as far as your overall kind of approvals and your processes you're moving forward. Part of that is the plat, right? And I think I still kind of see in your concept here that there's probably some skinny kind of access points from the other directions. There's not roads, but from like the North Street and the South Street or that are running along it, you got strips that you're allowing, sidewalk or a path to come in. So we have to all remember that if there's big events there, people will park on the street, but they can mid-block, it looks like most of the time, get into this, Steve, right? Park on the street, get into the site versus having just a parking lot. Is that still your plan?
Yes. Yep. There was meant to be some way in there.
Yeah.
To be clear, my expectation is most of that parking happens on either a parking lot or a street through there, though.
Yeah, agreed. It's more for access on bicycle from people within the neighborhood. Yeah.
Or people in the neighborhood. Yeah.
I expect a paved public easement, but the thought was more bikes than people parking on the street.
Just from past experience, I'm not sure how it works like in West Lawn 4th Edition. I think there had been some previous where public easement versus dedicating the land with the path on it, or I think that there's been some, the path pretty much needs to be there before the houses are built. Otherwise, they don't want the path there, right? I think we've had that experience in the past.
100%. Yeah, yes. I misspoke when I said easement.
Okay, I just want to make sure that we're all on the same page, but
I,
And just to circle back too, I think that once we find out some of the contours that Josh and Steve are going to look into, that's going to help dictate what we can actually do in this park too. So
Yeah.
depending on those contours and where things are and what can be moved and what can't, that's going to really tell us a lot.
Steve, I appreciate your comment about those 3 lots on the west face. I'm not trying to take 360 grand from you. I'm just trying to find a way to gain a little bit more frontage. I don't know if there's any opportunity to even cheat a few feet out of those lots or find another home for one or anything we could explore. Again, not trying to take money
Yeah.
out of your pocket. I've been through this many, many times, and I know more street frontage is going to make that park feel more comfortable.
yeah, I can take a look at it. That's a fun idea. I maybe can do something with those lots. There's room in the zoning, I think, for me to even just reduce some of those. Blake, frankly, I'm just trying to pull people into the park for parking. You
For
know,
sure.
that's what I'm really trying to do is I kind of don't want them parking on the street. I also don't want it to look like it's not a welcoming place. So I hear what you're saying loud and clear. Let me give it some thought.
Okay, yeah, I appreciate that.
Okay.
well, I think we had a lot of good conversation on this. I look forward to continuing to work on it and make it a really positive place for the neighborhood and overall community. So does anyone else have any final thoughts or questions before we keep rolling? All right, Steve, thanks so much for being here. I really appreciate it. And Blake and Josh, Sean, you have something else?
I do have one question. What did you say the name of the subdivision was?
Juniper Fields.
Yeah, is it still Sean's Park in the middle of that, or
It is still
are we
Sean's
changing
Park.
the name? Okay, all right. I just want to know because that hasn't been talked about yet tonight.
Yeah, there's a plaque with your name on it.
Thanks, Steve.
All right, thanks so much, everyone. More to come on that. Then we can keep moving to item 7, discuss and consider future use and dedication of the Thaden property and Outlot 5. There's a memo Amy submitted for your packet that kind of summarizes where we, kind of left off our conversation last meeting and talked about some of the history and looking for some designation for that green space. So Amy, I don't know if there's something you want to add on?
I, along with Paula Severson and I think Kelly might have gotten a copy of it, got an email in support from a neighbor on Stony Hill. So.
Yes, we did. I think it was sent out to the committee. We did have, I feel like I saw, yes, an email from someone on Stony Hill supporting this, yes.
Yeah, other than that, I mean, the purpose is to really designate it as what the neighborhood has been using it for, which is an open play space, but also giving, looking back on the history of the village and how things started out and what that land really represents. I think it's paying a great respect to the farming community, which is really what all of our houses are on, and paying, great respect to the village itself.
So if we were to approve this future use and dedication, this would then, we'd make the recommendation to the village board and potentially follow the actions here, that the historical information, potentially a plaque or sign. Is that kind of, Sean, where do you see this next steps?
And it's very specific to Outlot 5 at this point. So just throwing that in there as well.
I think what we need tonight is just kind of direction as to whether excuse me, whether the committee would like us to move forward, and I can work with Amy and whomever else Amy would like to kind of get a proof and a creation of that plaque and what that is going to look like. So I'm just really looking for direction. If the board or if the committee is good with this, we'll start to move forward. It'll obviously have to come to the board, you know, eventually. So if you guys are good with it, then we'll, Amy, if it's okay, you and I work together on this, then we'll kind of take the lead and report back to you guys once we have something set.
Yep, I am 100% in favor of Amy's idea and whatnot with this, so.
Me too.
Is that a
Great
motion?
idea, Amy.
I think that.
And I will throw in that I have spoken to somebody living in that neighborhood who has offered to pay for signage. Now, that will probably depend on what we're talking about. I just threw out a $1,200 amount, but I think he's actually willing to truly pay for some signage in there. I just want to make sure that it is then designated and not being openly planned for by the Board of Trustees, you know, 10 years from now still, that it's done and done.
Yeah, and conservation is an important aspect too. So I think,
Yep.
yeah, designating how we want our future land to be used is, I think, important, because just having it out there kind of leaves it up to interpretation, you know.
Yeah.
So I think that's part of a motion that we would be looking to receive if somebody was so moved, is to just, I don't know the exact wordage of that, but to just kind of designate that entire space as something that we're not going to develop. I think, you know, I don't know if, depending on how you guys want to look at it, I don't know if you want to just say ever, or if you want to look at it. I mean, any board can come in and change and do whatever they want, correct, Heidi? But I think ultimately, Amy, am I correct? That's a motion you're looking for as well.
I'm making a motion to approve Amy's plan as far as making the Thaden Outlot 5 protected or a designated space with signage as a protected kind of lot.
Maybe add
second.
conservation space.
We had the word conservation in. And then-
Conservation.
Yep.
Yep.
And then, I'm sorry, I missed the second. Hopefully Kelly caught, is it Amy that seconded it, or
It was
Penny?
me.
Penny?
I
Okay.
second.
Okay, thank you. So we have motion and second. Any further discussion on this item? I guess I just had one thing. Aaron, I hate to put you on the spot if you're listening. I know you were kind of on for the last one. Is there such a thing in our comprehensive plan that would fit this kind of land use? Or is that something we can build in our update?
As far as zoning goes, there's one park and open space zoning category, which would allow anything that could go in a park. So that doesn't necessarily preserve this in and of itself. Yeah, it might be a question for the attorneys. What's the best way to make this official and make it binding? I don't know if it's something that's recorded against the parcel, or if it's something that's put on a CSM. I'm not sure. That's probably a better question for Rick or Larry.
Okay. All right, well, maybe as this moves forward, Sean can get those answers too.
Yep.
Okay, any other questions or comments on this item then? Thanks, Amy, for preparing the memo.
Thanks.
All right, hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstained? Motion carries. All right, thank you again. We'll keep moving then to item 8, Shady Grove Park update.
Shady Grove is slowly moving along. Substantial completion is actually tomorrow. I don't necessarily think we're going to get there. I wanted to tell you, this is brand new news. I wanted to tell you that our park superintendent, our parks, what is Josh's title? Superintendent, was out and kind of inspecting the site yesterday and noticed an area in the turf that seemed much lower than the rest of it, and we thought like, okay, this is going to pool water. Then as we were looking at the playground itself, it just seemed like it wasn't square. So we brought Lee Recreation out, and in fact, that is correct. Something settled in there. The large tower itself is out of square. It's not the highest platform is not level. It's not like you're not going to roll off of it, but it's not level. So what they're gonna come in on Monday. They're gonna rip out the two posts that are not square. They're gonna re-cement those, and then they will that'll cure for a day or two, and then they will do the turf after that. The best part about all this, and all, you know, we would have eventually caught this, but the beautiful part about where we caught it is that the turf isn't done, so they don't have to rip it back up in order to do that. So in essence, we would have opened the park and then figured out, okay, we need to do this, then we have to close the park again. So, you know, kudos to Josh Bennett for catching this and getting it in front of our contractors prior to actually, you know, getting completion or being able to having to shut it down again. So that's where we're at. The gazebo is roughly 3 to 4 weeks out, and I told them as long as we had substantial completion in the park, and that would mean that the playground is open, and you know we have a drinking fountain that works, and all of those things are there. I'm fine with the gazebo being a little bit delayed, but they're so we're at least going to be a little bit delayed in opening because it's going to take about another week to get the playground situation straightened out. So we're moving, and I'm hoping in the next couple weeks we'll be open for good.
Do we have to be worried at all about more settling since we've had some?
That is something that they will investigate and make sure that, I mean, when they put it in, you know, it could have been a kid on there too soon that caused it. It could have been, we had some, that was the time that went in, we had some really bad weather. It could have been a number of things to do that, but it will absolutely be addressed in the repair to make sure that doesn't sink again.
Thanks, and thank Josh for being out there evaluating things too. So appreciate that. Other questions, comments on the Shady Grove Park update? All right, Sean, you can keep going with your director's report.
All righty. Field rentals and shelter reservations continue to come in. It's going to be a busy summer, absolutely. All our seasonal hiring has been completed. This is on the rec side for our baseball, softball, and playground camp. Our playground camp staff will be attending the WPRA summer camp training in New Berlin on Saturday. So Trista's taking a bunch of kiddos down there. It's a great crash course for these guys to understand what they're getting themselves into when it comes to the playground camp. They provide tons of information, game opportunities or game ideas. It's a really good thing, and it costs us, I believe, like $15 a person. So, and it's a whole day. It's great. Speaking of playground camp, that starts on June 22nd. We're welcoming a new fitness class starting on June 4th. It's Move Well, Live Well 55 plus. So we're excited about offering another senior fitness class. We got a new fitness instructor, Cassie Muhlenberg. So we added a third day of our strength and conditioning stuff. So that's been something that our customers have been looking for as well. We had one last senior ballet class was offered. Our current instructor's moving to Florida. So if anybody knows anybody that is willing to do senior ballet, have them give us a call. Kevin is willing to do senior ballet. On the park side, all shelters are open and online. We had minimal problems at Bakken this year. I don't know if anybody paid attention, but if you saw that Fitchburg, their splash pad is closed due to some broken pipes. So that's obviously a freezing and cycle where they didn't drain things properly. So again, kudos to our maintenance staff for making sure, because that's you know, there's a lot of concrete there if we have to rip something out. So again, Josh and his crew do a great job of making sure that stuff is as good as it can be. Mowing and trimming, that's in full swing, no pun intended. We're going to be actually demonstrating a new slope mower, so that might be something that comes back at budget time for how are we going to handle these slopes that we can't mow. Perfect example is the one outside of Rugby right now that's extremely long that we'll catch prior to Fireman's Fest. Let's see, we've been working with MG softball and baseball, especially on doing some freshening up on North Lawn as well as Fireman's Park. Bakken Park updates are mostly complete with the new parking situation. I don't know if anybody's been down there and saw that, but so a big thank you, first of all, to Public Works and Kyla and her great team. We saved a ton of money on that project. We had budgeted 62.5, and we're going to be easily $20,000 under that. So that's moving along. The concrete is in. What we're waiting on right now is we're just waiting on signage, so that we can sign all of those stalls. So for the weekend, it's going to kind of remain as it is. And then once we get the signage, we'll have that up as quickly as possible so that Miracle League can take advantage of the additional ADA stalls. Yep, and as I mentioned, as you know, Splash Pad is open and operational and started last weekend, and it's been busy down there every day. Any questions from anybody?
Thanks, Sean. Questions on Sean's report? Busy start to summer. All right, so then we have future agenda items. So we'll be, I guess, the proposal for the master plan at Juniper Fields Park would come forward. Any future thing we'd have to see for the Thaden and Outlet 5. Update with Shady Grove Park.
Yep.
Anybody else have anything for next meeting? And some other stuff may come up, but anybody have any other items?
Do we need anything on Miracle Field, or is that just on hold for the 6 months?
Yeah, that's on hold. Yep, I talked with Bill earlier this week, and they're actively trying to do some fundraising.
Okay,
So, right, yeah, we're hoping this time next year. We're in the middle of the building process. More to come.
All right, otherwise, then we're looking June 25th at 5 p.m., fourth Thursday of the month. And we just need one last motion for the evening.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion second to adjourn, non-debatable. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thanks so much for your time tonight, everyone.
Yes, thank you, everybody.
Thanks.
Good thing I sent JP to do natural landfill for me. That's fine.
So, meetings